All right. So, and Courtney, I know we only got you for like 9 more minutes or 7 more minutes, so you can go do what you've got to do, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
cool. So why don't we just start with what's on your mind? Oh, wait, let me start with what's on my mind. And then we'll go to your question first. Cool.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, cool. So I've been having lots of good conversations, and anybody who spent more than a couple minutes with me has heard me say these things. And so it might be like, Ron just talked to me about that. Yeah, I just talked to everybody about that. So 3 things. What are the 3 things we do, everybody? One,
Set the topic agenda.
get that clear agenda. And yeah, make that distinction between a topic and agenda. Topic is what we're talking about. Agenda is what do you want to get from our time? We need to have a thing we're pointing at. Otherwise, it gets murky. Second thing we do.
Connect client to themselves.
Okay, clients themselves. And number 3,
Look at the top agenda topic.
from this place of resourcefulness, connected to self, living out these qualities real time in this moment, bring my power, my connectedness, my love, my gentleness, bring those qualities to the question I started the call with. That's all we do. That is transformation, being able to connect to them and be able to connect to them. Here's Hélène. All right. Welcome, lady. Good to have you in here. We're just getting settled. The 3 things we do, which are 1, get a clear agenda, right? Number 2, connect clients themselves. Number 3, we look back over here. So this is what I was just saying is this is transformation. We're not doing a one-trick pony thing here. And the reason I'm bringing this, and my hope is to bring a little bit of something that I've been thinking about, something that keeps showing up in mentor sessions that I'm doing, is to sort of warm up the space or temper our space as you guys bring your questions with what I'm seeing out there, what's on my mind. And so let me just complete the thought with, we're not one-trick ponies where it's like, oh, I'm coaching Hélène and I'm just going to get her to do her sit-ups every day. It's like, okay, that's great. But to what end? Who does she need to be? Well, she needs to connect to that part of her that's disciplined or loving or self-loving or whatever. That's thoughts, emotions, physical sensations, motivation, intuition. There's a whole bunch of stuff that makes up my experience. And as I connect to it, I can do those sit-ups, maybe just today and tomorrow, because it's been 12 years since I've done it last. So what do I got to do? I've got to really help you get it deeper, 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 so I can get to day 3 or 4. And maybe I text you, or maybe I write you if I'm the client. I'm getting weak. I'm needing that. Can we grab another session? Can we grab 5 minutes as an example? Or circling back next week. Hey, Hélène, how did you do? Oh, I did good, Ron. I only did 4 days, but great. But I didn't do the last 3. Nah, that sucks. But what did you learn? Because it's 4 more days than last week. It's like, all right, good. So the connection, I'm reestablishing that connection. Oh, maybe we typically, again, what people do, they typically go to, well, I rigged up, I dropped the ball, I didn't, whatever. Yeah, because you aren't perfect. You did 4 more days than last time. What kind of woman shows up and does 4 out of 7 days when last week you were eating Twinkies and complaining about your brother or something, right? There's a shift here. So we help people see the evidence, rewrite the narrative. I am becoming this. I am this person. Now what happens is she begins to see it. We're transforming the narrative. We're transforming the story. We're transforming how I see myself, how you see yourself, is how you're going to manifest action in the world. Reconnect her to herself. That's right. What are you committed to today? What will you do? And now she's going to take action today, tomorrow, next week to create more of what she wants, more through seeing herself a certain way. Okay. So I'm a big fan of let's just hammer the basics, hammer the fundamentals. There isn't a lot to coaching. That is what we're doing. And that's, again, let me just circle it back to say that's where the transformation happens. If we can help me, if I'm the client, have a quick, rich access to self-love, to discipline. As I'm fond of saying, if all we ever have is a few handles, you don't need 12 values, a life purpose, a vision, 3 new perspectives. No, you need a few handles to tap into those few qualities in you that is going to make a manifest difference in your life. And that's true transformation. Where, as I like to say, 10 years ago, coach, I forgot your name, but I remember the impact you had on me. All right. All right. It's my boy calling. I'm declining. I have to talk to him later. All right. I want to ask if there's any thoughts about it, but Courtney's got to go. So I'm going to answer your question quick, Courtney, and cut you loose. Okay.
Okay, cool. So obviously I'm new to this journey, and one of my questions, especially around balance, because it's the formula that we learn gets a little challenging for me at times. And I want to know, I find that the most effectiveness to me is like looking at exploring perspectives, right? And helping get my client to a new way of viewing something, which consequently has an impact on the way they feel and think and most likely act. That being said, and I kind of briefly touched upon this earlier, but how important is like going through the subsequent part of the formula as far as the coactive strategy and the commitment piece and the way that it's laid out?
Well, okay, and this quick, and I know you got to go, so it's very essential. The way that it's laid out is, let's brainstorm qualities of being. Let's lay out things to do, co-active, feminine, masculine. Action is typically there's a word I was going to use here, but it's typically held as the masculine aspect of the human experience, and then co being the feminine, right? The being, the emotions, blah blah. There's so much more I really love to say about that conversation, but for our purposes now I won't go in there. And then the follow through. Listen, one of the things I say, and I'm talking so quick for you, Courtney, and then I'll slow it down for you guys later. When I do my discovery session with people, I will say, listen, I will hold you accountable, which means that next week when we talk, I'm going to say, hey, how did you do with this? And I'm not going to chase you around. Did you do this? Did you do that? No. Next week we talk, I'm going to say, hey, did you do this? How did you do with that? What did you learn? If I don't, we just end up having conversations that are, and then nothing ever comes of it. And what happens is you learn that Ron's not going to check anyway. There's no real consequence to not doing the thing. So never mind. Okay, that doesn't work. So you need to do a thing. And if you're going to create actions, whether or create some homework around being, right? Who do I want to be? Actions, what will I do? You'd better make them meaningful and directly meaningful to the thing that I'm working on, the thing that I came to the coaching for. And it's a great idea to, have the meta view, the bigger picture. Hey, I'm trying to lose 20 pounds. If I bring discipline to this, what's possible? Great. Hey, Ron, what's possible if you bring this to the whole of your life? Right? It's like, oh, that's even more motivation, right? So I know you got to go. Does that begin to open the door to?
It does. I mean, it reflects kind of the importance of going through that. So that's helpful.
Okay. Yeah. And as we talked about earlier, it's like, you don't have to go through the whole thing, right. But like so many other things, if you don't learn the extended version, the formal version, I think it was Billy Idol, if I remember correctly, was talking about, look, you got to learn the rules, the chords, learn how to do things properly. Then you can break the rules, but you can't go breaking the rules until you get it. Otherwise, you just end up being a mess. So.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for speaking to that.
All right. You're very welcome. Time. Yep. Peace. See you next month, or see you in 3 months.
Hope so.
All right.
Okay. Bye, all.
Bye.
Bye.
What else do you guys want to say, or any thoughts about that? You can slow it down now.
I really like what you said. I don't know if it was last time or the time before about, I'm pretty sure it was you that said that balance is part of fulfillment.
Yeah.
Because it's all about
same thing.
It's all about where you're going, whereas process is about being present with what's here.
Correct. Yeah. Fulfillment and balance are the same thing. They're two different sets of language to get you to the same place, which is taking you to a value, taking you to your vision, taking you to a new perspective, a relationship with that part of you, so that more resourceful part is in action and is guiding and creating your life. Yeah. And the process is about being here now. Yeah. Yeah. So cool. Hélène, we had Fred and Kara both threw a question up on the board. Did you want to throw a question up there and I'll just go through different stuff?
Sure. I mean, it's my first time, so you tell me if I'm all right. But like, I feel like more than a question, I think that I would love to have the thoughts of everyone on a situation that I had with a client. So I don't know, how does that work? If I say that now, or if we go over other things.
Just throw it out there, and I'll probably offer some thoughts, and then we'll toss it up for others. So it sounds like that's going to be important for you to
Yeah,
explore
absolutely.
perspectives.
So I've been working with this client for a while now. It's been a little bit than 6 months, and the reason why is it's been like challenging for me to kind of so like she's really motivated, but there's a lot of rescheduling, a lot of things coming up, and life happens. So I'm super understanding, but there's a component of I'm gonna do what I say I'm gonna do, like you were saying about forwarding the action, and so I think that our role is also as well to call bullshit on our customers sometimes when they say they do it, but like, things push on, right? So like, I'm always happy to reschedule. That's somebody that, needs flexibility. That's fine. But I haven't seen, as much as I think she potentially could get to. And so last week I told her that. And I thought, I was taking a risk, but it's important as well that I do that so that she can realize her own potential and, just like make an executive decision about where she thinks she is at, right? But it didn't come across as like caring, it seems like. And so I didn't know how to do it. So I did the best way possible. I said, like, look, in our design alliance, this is what we talked about. In our agreement, this is what you agreed to do. And, in the past few weeks, I don't feel I've seen that from you. And so I want to see how it lands for you. And, I kind of approach it the best way I could, but with calling out the things that I know she could do better and saying to her, like, how proud I am for all the things that she already has done, right? But she said, I'm feeling baffled. Like the feedback was like, I'm feeling baffled that you didn't see in the past few weeks how much I feel like I've done. And so now I'm feeling, so like I said to her, like, it was never my intention to obviously like, hurt your feelings or anything. And I'm super proud of you. And I'm happy that like, because she went on explaining to me, like, I did this and I did that. And in a sense, I was happy that this came out because obviously she was like showing up for herself, which is what I wanted kind of like deep down as well a little bit. But I feel like I hurt her feelings and I don't know how to go back from there,
So I'm going to correct me if I'm off at all. I'm going to try to, bring it down to an essence. No, what you did is great. I wanted you to talk it all out and share. So we had all the detail more detailed. So it sounds like you saw something, either a way of being or some things that she wasn't doing that either one, did she agree to do and didn't do? What actually, let me ask you that. Was it stuff that she said she was going to do and she just didn't do it?
Yeah, but it hasn't been just once. It's like some of the groundwork that we've done for a few months that like, will help her throughout her journey and that she's been like working on, but never like taking it to the next steps, Well,
this is the distinction. Is it stuff like I said I was going to do 20 push-ups and I didn't do 20 push-ups. And now we're talking about something else. And you're like, well, you didn't do your push-ups and we're not talking about that. We haven't done it. And like, is it something like that? And that's gone on over time where there's been things where I said I was going to do and they just kind of keep falling away and commitments happen, but okay. So what you did is fine. The upgrade of what you did is going to be probably a couple things, but one of them is going to be you connecting to yourself, standing clearer and stronger in what you know, which is, and I'm just playing here. So just tell me, I'm making up a couple things too about your relationship. So Sally, first, you have made progress. You've done some wonderful things. Great. And you have had a track record as of late, for the last few months where you aren't doing the push-ups. You said you were going to do this, you're not doing. So there's a bunch of things. And even this week, you didn't do this. That's not okay. It's not okay, not because I'm mad at you or no, I'm proud of you, because then you're externally motivated and you want my approval and you're paying. It's like a weird dynamic. And I would even say all this. I'm going to talk it all out. Normal people talk. It's It's not because, you know, you want to please Ron and I'm a tall man and I could yell at you, or because I'm your coach and I'm somehow, but it's not that. It's because you've hired me to be a mirror for you. It's because you've hired me to hold you to the highest and best version of yourself. And when you say you're going to do something and you don't follow through with it, you're not actually being the best version of yourself. And if I don't say it, then I'm actually underwriting, or I'm underwriting your mediocrity. You're actually paying me to not say anything and kind of collude with the lesser part of you. Period. Now, what can happen, and I've had this happen many times over the past in the years, is then someone, well, you know what? It's not fair, and I'm hurt now. Bullshit. No, it's not bullshit that she's hurt, but it's her saboteurs, it's her fears, it's her demons, it's her child and her child, it's her patterns that are hurt and sad, and and she's, what that is a great move is to get some oxygen, to get some space from you putting on the heat and saying, you're better than this, you can do this.
Yeah.
So now what are we going to do? Are we going to crumble because, Ron is a big, tall man and she's just a little lady and he's yelling at her? One dynamic. Hélène, you are a professional, because our saboteurs, our demons will grab whatever they can to make you the bully and me the victim, right? Oh, Hélène, she's been in corporate America or corporate Canada for 20 years and I've never done corporate. And she's just, you know, wielding her power over me and I don't know this, and she's abusing it. It's like we will make up crap to allow ourselves or keep ourselves the victim. So if we are willing to speak the truth again and again, no arrogance, mercy, plenty of room for mercy. This is not like you stink, you haven't gotten it done. No, it's you haven't done this. And it's not cool because you said it was, you wanted this other thing. You know, you're holding her to her own standard. And guess what? I've fallen down. I've had my own addictions. I've whatever. And just like me, we all have got to do our work. I'd be careful about the order of things so I don't line it up like I've done my work, now it's your turn. No, you know, we're all busy doing our work, right? I'm not saying you would say all these words now. I'm just saying the subtext. This is what's going on in the background of how I'm presenting. So if I start getting how could you do this, this and that, like, because I care, because you said this was important, but I did this 2 weeks ago and you weren't nice enough to me and I had the opportunity. And I'd say, well, maybe I wasn't nice enough. I don't know, but like, I acknowledge you. I said you were wonderful. I said you were, you know, a rock star. I remember absolutely telling you you're a powerhouse woman, and we laughed and talked about how great it felt. What's coming up right now, Sally, is, you know, you're being triggered. You're pissed. You're sad. You're angry. Some stuff's coming up because I'm calling you out on what you said was important. And it's okay, but I want to make sure you make the distinction between your disappointment with yourself and me being blamed for pointing at it. And you got to get quiet again. You know, so I'm going on a long way here, but what you would have to do is a little bit back off, make sure they're with you. Otherwise, you're going to be lecturing and you're going to get hung up on, and you should get hung up on. But you've got to establish and reestablish reality, truth, lowercase t truth, reality, so we can deal with it. You know, and this is part of my deal with what's going on in our world today, where people conflate and they make no distinction between my truth and truth. I am concerned with your truth, your experience, but it doesn't trump reality. I'm sad because how dare you? It's like, wait, you said you wanted this, right? I'm saying you said you wanted this, so show up and you can do better. It's not a personal insult. Yes, but you know, I've been hurt in the past, right? You've been hurt in the past. I'm not hurting you with this is faithful X. Yes, but my experience is that you're doing X, Y, Z. It's like, you can unpack this, but if someone is committed to being a victim, now typically victims aren't attracted to coaching, by the way. But if someone's committed to being a victim, they're not coachable. However, if you can say, I get that your mother did this. I get your father did this. You know, and we've talked about that. And that sucks. And I can coach you all day long around that. However, your experience, which is worthy of unpacking and feeling and experiencing and being at choice with, doesn't trump the fact that you said you wanted this and you're not doing it. So that means you just got to get better. And I'm here to help you do that. And then again, quiet and back off.
That's
Now,
amazing.
I'm happy to hear the thoughts of Fred and Kara, but that is the essence is we are holding people. In fact, one of the questions I asked during a discovery session is, how might you get slippery? How might you sabotage our relationship? And guess what? If people know themselves, this is one way they might say is, well, I'll start blaming you. I'll start treating you like I've treated other people, where I start to make them the reason, blah, blah, blah. You know, and I'll even say that as, look, I'm going to be challenging you and calling you on your stuff. And sometimes that can invoke like, hold on a second here. You know, if that comes up, how do you want to deal with that? You know, be with that, deal with that. And it's great to have that conversation in a sober moment. So.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I feel like I asked that at first, like, how do you want me to react if you haven't done something or whatever? But like, when people, like, I found many people answer that like, I'm a great person. I'm gonna be like, I just want you to let me know, like, don't be too harsh on me or anything. But they like totally tell me, and then when the situation is there, they're like, but you know, and it's like, it's a lot harder to take the blame, right? To take and it's not really the blame, but like to just face the reality of like, yeah, I haven't done that. And that's okay. There's learning in everything. That's what I said to him, right?
And as long as you can hold that line and this is a good reason why it's so nice that if I'm not advising you as a coach, as a client, well, then I have no responsibility. You're the one who didn't do the thing. I asked you questions. You said this was important. You didn't do it. It's all you. Now I'm happy to be here with you as you start to look at yourself and go, oh crap, right. Why didn't I do that? No blame, no anything. But as soon as you start pointing at me, it's like, you've already missed it. You're now a victim. And no wonder this isn't working and that's not working in your life, because here's a very plain example of it's all you and you're putting it on somebody else. Doesn't make much sense, does it? And then if you present it well, then they're going to like, no, right. You get it, like why your wife might be feeling like this, or you get why your boss might be wondering why this and that and didn't give you the bonus. No, is there any connection here? Oh, and then it's like, anyway, I don't want to go on too long and answer questions that aren't being asked, but it's like, those are the moments then where you can stand down. Boom. It's like it's landed. It's like, now you get to be with them and hold the space, because boy, when people really get it, now you've got to really help them be with how they drop the ball, how they sabotage themselves. And that's a confronting moment. So, but that's where the real gift of being a coach comes in is, yeah, you're the one that gets to stand with me in the middle of my most naked and not pretty part.
Yeah, but that's where you grow.
That's where you grow. And that'd be wonderful to say as well to then, is to say, you know, I know this isn't, you know, after I've taken it all in, if I'm getting coached, after I've taken it all in and heard what you've had to say, it's just hard. Yeah. Oh, I can't believe that. And you could say, yeah, Ron, and this is where the growth is. And I get it's hard. What a wonderful witnessing. What a wonderful appreciation of me on my journey. And now I feel it's even safer to be with you and be vulnerable with you, because you get it. And there's no judgment there. It's just true, more truth being spoken.
One of the things that I design now with new clients, I specifically talk about the difference between safety and comfort.
Great.
That my role as a coach is to create an environment where you feel completely safe. My role is not to make you comfortable. It's the opposite. So within the safety, my job is to make you uncomfortable. I'll take you to a place that's uncomfortable.
I like that.
So
Great.
Designing up front when awkward things come up, I can reference back to that, and it's just like, yeah, we're in. I recognize that we're in discomfort right now. We're still safe, but yeah, we're going to be here in discomfort for a little while longer.
Yeah. 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 And how you show up with that tells people that it's safe to be in this place. This is and, you know, sort of like to both of your points kind of together. It's like, this is where the growth happens, and it's okay. This is, I'm glad we're here to I'm glad you're committed to doing this work. And the sort of the championing / witnessing is, and I promise you there's another side to this. And I promise you next year we won't be having the same conversation. And I promise you on the other side of this, you're going to be way more happy, way more free, as thoughts, not that you should jam it on top of what you said, but well done, Fred. I like that.
Yeah, it's a great topic.
Kara, any thoughts you want to add on top of that?
Really? Just soaking it in.
Well, let's answer some more questions. Fred, let's shift gears. Go to you, man. The rates, charging packages question. I'd love to hear you phrase it in an essential way, but yeah, actually, just let's go right there.
I'm currently, with different things going on, I'm currently down to 3 active clients. Next year, I really want to be building up the business and making it financially viable. So I need more clients, but I also need to charge each client more than I currently am.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's definitely triggering a lot of questions for me around, if I charge too much, or what is too much? Where will I start to lose people? And I really feel like I want to be of huge value. But all of my clients, I actually have one client at the moment who has had a coach before, but I didn't know that until we were a few sessions in, and she said, this is amazing. Like my previous experience of working with a coach, I left every session feeling worse than I started. And this client actually wrote a little testimonial on her LinkedIn, basically saying, Fred, you're amazing. You've made my life better. So yeah, but I still struggle putting the rate up.
Yeah. And it sounds like, Elaine, you were going to say something as well, add something to that.
Yeah, I love this topic because so there's a few reasons for it, but I think that the first question that comes to mind for me when I hear you say that is like, what makes you feel that you're not valuable enough that you can charge what you need to charge?
Oh, I've got all sorts of stories around that. And I grew up in a county in the UK called Yorkshire, and we are known for being almost as tight with our money as Scotsmen.
Wow.
Yes,
the legendary
almost, but not quite.
So we won't do coaching, but give the essence of the story you've made up is we are cheap. And so probably being soaked in that culture, it's like people don't pay for it, they won't pay for it.
Yeah. The story is, unless they really know how valuable it is, they're not going to be prepared to pay.
But that's true about everything. You got probably a very nice bike. If it's hung up in your apartment or house there, it's probably a very nice bike. You wouldn't have spent 4,000 quid on a tri bike or a cycle like that if you didn't know the value of it. So that then begs the question, how do I express the value, right? So there's that. Elaine is gonna fall out of her house if we don't. What do you got going on? I can see you got more. What's going on?
Yeah, like I want to know, like, what when you do have a potential new client, what does do you offer a sample session, for example? Or
I've done it different ways. I normally just have a conversation with them and see if there's a connection. So I haven't been doing sample sessions as such.
I'm not saying that's something that you necessarily need to do, but like like in terms of value, you know, if you feel like that's what's needed from a client, that's something that a lot of coaches offer.
Yeah.
As like you know, like just feeling like if there is this connection, but also like how you're gonna be working together, right? So it can be one way to kind of show the value, and I think that like what I want to know is, how do you have the pricing conversation?
So before you answer that, Elaine, can I, since you're just jumping in and kind of doing a little coachy thing, can I offer a couple thoughts?
Yes.
This is the challenge with you're sliding into problem solving a little bit here. Feel it?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So what we're doing, or what you're doing in this moment, is beginning to presume the problem. And the problem is something like, if he could only show the value, then he would be cool. But then that has us one problem solving. But let's make sense of this for people who are just jumping in. Who knows if they see this on YouTube and they're just like, well, what do you mean problem solving? Aren't we solving problems as coaches? Yes. But how do we go there? We go through the front door, which is clear agenda, fine, connect them to themselves. So what I would want to actually do first is get clarity, like what's going on. One, we begin to name it. He's from Yorkshire. There's a story. If there's a story, there's something going on here. There's a way of being that's not working. So we have to address that before we say, hey, do a sample session, boy from Yorkshire. Well, guess what? Dude from Yorkshire who's got a story about what people will pay for, he could do sample sessions all day long. He's not going to close anything else.
But it's not so much for the close that I was thinking. That it's for him to realize how much impact he has, whether he charge or not.
But his saboteurs, until you deal with what's going on in here, his saboteurs are going to find another way to justify, well, I gave value, but people won't pay for it, or they love it, but go ahead, Fred.
There's a great one that I've got with that. It's like, oh, I feel a really good connection with this client. I really want to work with them. So I want to make sure that they, like, this is going to be a great client. So I really want them to sign up to work with me. So the better that initial connection goes, the more likely I am to give a lower offer. If I feel like,
isn't that something? Wait, quick pause. Elaine, isn't it funny how that's something from our problem solving perspective? You never could have guessed that. I thought he all of a sudden switched up on me. I'm like, oh, if he feels a connection, he's going to go for the money. No, he's going to go for the lower price. Oh, what the hell?
Yeah, because I've done the opposite. I've had an initial call with someone who it's like, okay, I can see how this can work. There's not a great connection here, and I've basically given them double the rate I've got to
work with you and deal with your crap.
Current clients.
I'm gonna.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. I remember my dad in construction. My dad had a business, and he would, I forgot what he would call it, the irritation factor. He'd add like an extra 10 or 20% to your, he's like, well, it's going to cost $5,000. He goes, but if they say yes, they're going to drive me nuts. I haven't even gotten the job yet and they're killing me. $6,000. So at least it's worth it. So, okay, that's why the problem solving doesn't work. And that's why we've got to back it up. Now all of a sudden we have new information. So then, where would we go? It's like, okay, what's going on inside of you? Like, or I might even say like, well, I'd have to get clear what the problem is. So the problem is, you said charging. So actually, let's just play with this for a second. Let's find like the entry point. So your question is charging and how to, like, I would need you to frame the question. Like, what's the want? Ron, I'm challenged by, or how do I? What's the question we're playing with?
How do I charge what I think my time is actually worth?
Okay, wait, and let's all just like let that land, okay, before we do anything. How do I charge what I think I'm worth? So first thing I would do is, by the way, is I'm going to notice, tag each of you two. What are you noticing and what might you do? Don't go too far. We're just going to notice a couple things. We're going to slow this down. What do you hear?
That you're tying your self-worth to this.
Maybe. So that would be something that might be worth checking out. Hey, so I'm hearing, tell me if I'm wrong, that you're tying your self-worth to this. And then you might be wrong. And he's going to go, no, it's not that. It's more blank. But that's okay. Who cares? That you're not supposed to be right. You're supposed to say something, get clarity, and then work with that. Good. Kara, what do you notice?
I got hung up on the word think
Me too.
versus know.
Yeah.
What you think you're worth versus what you know you're worth.
Yeah. I got hung up there too. So I was going to say, yeah. So I hear the word think, which already, so if I was coaching, I'd go like, well, first of all, Fred, when I hear the word think, I go, he doesn't know he's worth this. So there's a gap there between what you want to be and see yourself as and what you just know you are. And it's very matter of fact, and is what I charge. So there's a gap there somewhere. And I just see the nodding head and all that. Now I know I can work, I can proceed, right, with my line of thinking. And so what I would probably offer then here, guys, just, you know, as we're playing here is, so Fred, tell me if I'm off. I don't have any better thoughts than yours here, but just tell me if I'm off. It's like, it seems then, you know, if we recognize that who we are drives what we do creates results. Our starting place is who we are. It sounds like it might be worthwhile finding out who you are, like what's going on, like who are you being as you think about the conversation of charging, as you go to charge, because it sounds diminutive or diminishing in some capacity that has you on your heels rather than, you know, just really clear. And now watch me, I'm backing off. Like, am I on, off? How am I off? Like, what's true?
Yeah, there's definitely something in that. There's a lot of different stories coming up for me right now. Everything from what my physio charges per hour to how much I'm paid per hour as an employee.
So Kara and LN, can you see that he's now going to, he's not actually answering the question, and I have to get an answer to the question about being.
Yeah.
Because I want to see, do you see that how you're showing up is producing this? I still have to win that battle, so to speak, before I start talking about how much his physio charges and all that, because that's just doing and extraneous stuff. Nothing changes for him in the world until this gets cleaned up and he gets aligned with himself. Then we can talk about, well, his physio charges this and that. Then we can have the more rational conversation. But until then, it's just going to be used to manipulate and twist him around in knots. Does that make sense, ladies? Elaine, does that make sense too, for you too?
Yeah.
Okay. So Fred, one more time, buddy, is I hear your physio might charge this, your coach charge, like, but do you see how until you get whatever's going on cleaned up and you see your value, you hold yourself a certain way, you are connected to a certain part of yourself and hold yourself to this, it's just, you're just going to keep being, you know, tossed like a wave of the sea.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I would enter into the coaching is great. Let's talk about how you want to be, how you want to show up for yourself professionally. Like, what do you need to know? I'm not saying I would just say these all in succession, but what do you need to know about yourself to know that you are as valuable as you decide in any given moment, by the way? And I don't know what that number is. It could be 10 pounds an hour and it could be 5,000. I don't know. But what do you need to know about yourself that, you know, you're really rock solid about, this is what I am. And you don't have to answer right now, but do you see, ladies, where I'm going in terms of we had to wrestle to get the agenda, get the want, clean it up? No, we're not taking the physio rates. We're not doing this. Nope. We're laser focused on this. And then this is the business I'm into. How do I connect to him as a man?
And would have been a great question to say, like, what do you know about yourself to be true?
That's great. Yeah, but I want to do all that other work first. What do you know about yourself? What do you know to be true about yourself? Yes, but it feels like slightly glancing. I might want to hit a little bit more direct to something. Fred, what's your impact if somebody were to say, now keeping in mind, it might be a great question. Keeping in mind the setup that I gave, and Elaine got tagged in, the setup that I gave, that we got to focus on helping you connect to the better version of yourself and, you know, forgetting what the words I use, but basically who you are around this money conversation or whatever. And so she asked that question. What was it again?
What do you know to be true about yourself?
Yeah, actually, what do you think, Fred?
My initial reaction, thinking of what I thought, my analysis, my initial response to it is that it's an open door for me to go into external well, these are the things that I do, and this is how I show up, rather than keeping it internal. So yeah,
Go ahead.
I'm always gonna, you talked before, Ron, about being slippery. I'm always going to be slippery and go to the external rather than going internal.
Now, if Elaine, if he does that, like he's, well, I did this and I did that and da da da, then what I'm looking for is who is he showing up as he has the conversation? Because, well, I made $1 million doing this, and then I did a triathlon in record time, and then I married the woman of my dreams, and then it'd be like, oh, well, okay, so who's the guy that does that? Tell me about him. Then
yeah, exactly. Who are you being when you're like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and great question. And let's do this, the 10% upgrade. Who were you being? Good question. Very good. What kind of man does that? Who are you that you create those results in your life? Now it's present. It's just all that little extra. Because 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be a big deal. That 10th time, his saboteurs have a little open door to, well, I used to do that, but I don't do that anymore. And I'm not that guy, and I'm 40 now or whatever. It's like, could be bullshit central. So what you did was a great question. Just know that you can open the door to that with that question. Just keep an eye on things. Listen, our willingness as coaches to name what we see going on in any given moment is our salvation. So then you can ask a question like you did in the beginning, Ellen, where it was like, I forgot what it was, but it would have steered us off a little bit. Or it was an observation, it was an articulation that wasn't quite on it. It just doesn't matter. If you're willing to deal with the response head on, just you're fine. Just trust your guts. Because we know where we're going. We're going towards connection to self and conscious choice around his question or problem that he showed up with. I'm going to throw something in that's not coaching, but an advising thing around charging. Know your audience. When I was charging, now bear with me, I'm going to go back, say 20 or 25 years. When I was charging, say $300 a month, and now let's just put us back here. We'll put this in the late 90s or early aughts. 300-400. It sort of put me in the middle class zone. Well, the middle class is the middle class because the middle class is the middle class. It's like I'm doing the best I can to earn a living. I got to bring my kids to soccer. I've got to whatever. There's, and I'm talking about my own people, right? It's like there can be a great need, but a lot of overwhelm and no time for, and no sense of we invest in these types of things. Now I might go to the bar a lot, and I might go on have a vacation home, and maybe I've got a timeshare, and I'll spend $6,000 a year on these other things. But to spend $6,000 for a year on my own personal development, it's often not on the radar. So who's your audience? And I got to tell you that the more I charged, and I charge now between $60,000 and $100,000 a year, I'm obviously in a very different strata of people, but the people that can afford that are having a very different conversation in their lives. Right. And I'm not saying there's no gap between what I used to charge between $600 and $1,000 a month and $60,000 and $100,000. There's a huge gap. There's huge needs in that. Corporate America, corporate Europe, corporate Canada. How many coaches out there are charging $2,000 a month per client? A lot, many. Right. So there are many opportunities out there. Many opportunities in corporate environments, in individuals and triathlon clubs or whatever. There are people, but mind your audience. Because if you're busy going I know I'm worth £1,000 a month, but you're going to people in Yorkshire or Glasgow that are just not paying it, and they're Joe Schmo or whatever, you're going to start to think, I am not somehow I can't communicate my value. You can't communicate your value to a Scotsman. It's it's not going to happen. We're beating up on the Scots.
I think that when it does that, if it does that with people who are not necessarily able to afford it, then it's saboteur. And I think that's what's happening. Your saboteur is showing up, and you're thinking that, we're charging this because those people can't afford it. But it doesn't mean you're not with it. And I
I
feel
won't
like
pay you that much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's one thing
Good.
I want to offer as well that is also an advice, but like it's something that works really well. And it's like when you do talk about your pricing and this conversation happens and you're like, having this conversation like we're having, I'm going to challenge you actually. So it's a little bit of coaching, but like I'm going to challenge you to mute yourself. You say you price and you mute yourself. There's no going back from this. And you just wait.
Good move.
That's the hardest part is you just want to die inside like for a minute, and it's fine. It's a great feeling to have. I mean, it's not a great feeling on the moment, but like people are just gonna, like take the time to reflect on what you just said.
Yeah. That's actually a really great technique. It's like the first one who talks loses, so to speak. Is
Yeah.
part of the test. Great, Ellen. Part of the test for you as a coach is, can you speak what's true for you in this case without blinking and getting nervous and whatever else? Just like if I had to be in Elaine's shoes and say, Ron, you didn't do your push-ups, you didn't do this and that, you're not showing up. Am I going to blink and get scared and start talking? I didn't mean it. I lose. And not only do I lose, her best self loses, my client, right? Same thing with you, with all of us with pitching. If it's like, I'm $500 a month and you're like, well, unless you can't afford it. I mean, I'll do, well, what works for you? Oh, it's over.
Yeah. And like, that's like honestly, like 100% chance that like when you saying your price, the second later, you're saying, but if it doesn't work, or if you like, if this is complicated, like, and that part, mute yourself and don't say it and try and see how it lands,
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. People are going to do other work to, anyway, we'll let that go. Good job, everybody. Nice job.
Yeah. Thanks.
We've got about 7 minutes because we're going to do a hard stop. So I want to hit Kara's question and then we'll just see whatever's residual that needs to be spoken. Then we'll see each other in March. Kara, we're talking about following through, as a habit when people don't follow through. Well, we addressed some of it with Ellen.
Yeah, both the questions so far have really been really helpful for me. So thank you.
Good. Is there anything else? Yeah, about that.
Well, my challenge is that this is a person that integrity has been an issue since the beginning, something we've acknowledged up front, something we've had these great conversations around, putting forth homework. What keeps happening, at least a couple weeks in a row now, is we have these amazing sessions and getting this person like really connected, really alive, we get this homework, get this commitment, and then crickets.
Yep.
So how do I handle that?
Yeah, well, in brief, there's so much to be said. I'm just trying to say what I want to say in brief. I'm going to ask you one more question, I think, before I answer. Are these homeworks, like, what's the species, so to speak, of these homeworks? Is it like every day I'm going to do X, or is it I'm going to call my lawyer and my mother this week and have those conversations?
I'm both. I mean, the person sets kind of their own goals, and I try to set more deep internal homework that's done on a daily basis.
Okay, so I'm a big fan of so philosophically.
I have a question as well.
All right, your question. We only got a couple minutes, so I'm gonna.
Okay, real quick. What are are you sharing with her what are the goals of those deeper homework?
Yeah, is it connected to like, if I do the homework, then I get this, right? We know what we're just
the reward kind of thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So here's what happens is if and Kara, we've talked about this, and maybe you others, you, Fred, and others who are going to watch us, we've had this conversation, but I know Kara, you and I have talked about it. So your power, and this is my philosophy, and I believe this to be true, period. And I've experienced it. I just would say, I know this to be true. My power in the world is going to be based on the power of my word. If I don't believe myself when I talk, nobody else is. And if you don't trust me when I say I'm going to get something done, then I'm going to be very impotent in the world. I'm not going to get much going on. And so I tell people, whether they're worth millions or I'm working with a homeless guy, I work with guys in recovery who at the time might not have a home. I say, it doesn't matter who I'm working with. We're starting with your word. you keeping your word to yourself, because that's everything. Because if you don't believe yourself in the little tiny things, if you can't get yourself to brush your teeth, which is my standby, if you can't brush your teeth at night when you said you're going to brush your teeth every night, then you're not going to start that charity. You're not going to save your marriage. You're not going to. It's like if you don't believe yourself in the little things, you're full of crap when it comes to the bigger things and being able to do anything about it. So, Kara, it might be worthwhile helping her get some wins, little wins. And I think we've talked about this too, where you might even just say, like, I'm making it up. Like, she said, oh, I'm going to call my lawyer by next week. And it's 5:30 Eastern, but like say it's 2:30 Eastern. I would say, okay, we're on till 3:00. Go call your lawyer. Well, no, we're going to talk right now. I'm going to hang up on you in like 9 seconds. Go call the lawyer and then hang up. And then she's going to go, and I've done this a few times over the years. And every time people say the same thing. First, I was like, wait. Then I was like, F you. Then I was like, he's right. Then I made the call. Then I was grateful. Like there's a whole process that happens in like 6 seconds. And then they call. Oh yeah, it's the greatest. Then they call me back and like, well, I did it. Well, what happened? Well, I got their voicemail. Yeah, but you made the call. Oh, I guess you're right. So how hard was that? It wasn't hard. Okay. What did it take to get over it? Well, you told me. No, I get it. I told you to do it, but you did it. What did it take? Just shutting up and doing it. Okay. So what's the lesson here? How do you feel that you kept your word? Like we begin to create they're tiny, but there's a tiny spark and they begin to see, oh, wait, I guess I can just handle. And then we can just create small little things. And it could simply be for this person, we keep going after these things. Like you're going to do 20 sit-ups a day and you're not doing it. Now we can laugh at and mock and you should be able to do 20. Yeah, you should be able to do 20, but right now you can't. For whatever reason, you're not strong enough in your own word with yourself. And that's okay. It's no mocking you. There's no like guilt or shame, nothing. But let's find something that you can do every day. Like, I'm making this up, totally making it up. Everybody gets up in the morning and they go to the bathroom. Then they, get coffee, splash their face. They've got a little ritual. So what you might be with her is like, look, after you get out of the bathroom and splash your face, you spend, actually, or as soon as you get out of your feet out of the bed in the morning, you take one deep breath and say, I'm excited to be alive. That's all you got to do. No, there's no push-ups. Oh, but what happens if it's noon? Then you stand up out of your cubicle and say to yourself, I'm excited to be alive. And you sit back down because at least you did it. And now what you've got is evidence. We got to go. But there's evidence that I am moving closer to being that person who keeps their word. I am disciplined. I am deliberate. I can trust myself. And that can get built upon. But if I keep dropping the ball, keep failing on these things, then it starts eating away. And now I start feeling bad. So maybe simplifying the things and pointing like we did before, like pointing to, you did 2 out of 3. 6 months ago, you were doing none. You keep not keeping your word. That's not okay. So we're going to reduce things. We're going to start creating some wins for you. And I'm waiting for okay, you're right. And I would give the philosophical underpinning, the why, so that she or he actually knows when I do this, I am becoming more of this. When I do this, I reveal myself as X and I get to feel good. I get to create from here. And from here, I'm going to do the next big thing. Quick anecdote. You know the guy, Philippe Petit, who was the French guy who walked, tightrope walked across the Twin Towers? You know how he got that big ass cable? Do you know how he got the cable between the 2 buildings? Bow and arrow with fishing line. Then they took the fishing line, the guy took a string and he pulled it across and he pulled a string across. He tied on it with a string. That guy pulled across a little piece of like tie wire. So each time they got to be stronger. And next thing you know, he's pulling a heavy duty rope. After that, the heavy duty rope was tied to the cable and now the cable's on the other side. Little by little by little. Next thing you got a cable. You didn't go from fishing line to cable. So we start with fishing line. Good for you. We got a fishing line from one tower to the other. All right, guys. We're out of here. Everybody give one thought that they're walking away with. What's one thing you're walking away with? Freddie boy, let's start with you.
I really like the just focusing on keeping your word and one step at a time. Yeah. That's
So
powerful.
important. All right, Kara,
Creating small wins.
small wins.
Mhm.
Elaine.
I think for me, it's really like standing in what I know, just keeping going.
Yep. We reside in truth, then all we do. And guess what? If I actually see it better than you and you're wrong, we both win.
Exactly.
You win more than me because now you're right. Oh my gosh, what a deal. Yeah, good for you. Reside in truth. Amen, everybody. I'm walking away with just, I'm so grateful for you folks who showed up and anybody who's watching here. I'm just so grateful for coaches who mean to do good in the world. And you know, I'm delighted to be able to help in any way I can. And so, insofar as I did today, I'm delighted. So we'll see y'all in March and we'll play again. Okay?